So you don't need the Urim V'Tumim, you don't need the Rosh Hashanah, so they're not there. What do you need? So what does Benasata mean? So the Ramban explains, because originally I only allowed them to live in certain small cities, walled cities, but the rest of the land, Nisha Chareva, it was left desolate. They weren't allowed to be there. Now, after, if they crossed the Jordan and they would be Yotze Chalutzim, then you would allow them to take the rest. There was no halachic giving. You didn't have to do any, it was theirs anyway. Because this is where we learned the din of T'nai of Be'im. Be'im means to say that what? The Maisa is now, and the Chalosh happens when the T'nai works. Okay, so they crossed the Jordan. They said they waited there for 7 years of the Kibush. That's what the T'nai was. They did. As soon as they did that, the rest of the Eretz Gilead belonged to them. So what's been the Satem? Facilitate it. Make sure that you allow it. What's the flip side? If they don't cross the Jordan, the Ramban says, then expel them. The Gareshet Atafet Anoshim in Orim, you have to expel them from there. So the Nasatim there is not the etzem fulfillment of the T'nai, the legal aspect of the T'nai. Oh, when this is done, the Matan is Chal. No, they don't need you for that. I need you to make sure it's realized, to facilitate it. That's what this is. As I pointed out, in other words, the Chelik in Yerusha, Yeshua didn't do a thing. It was set aside, it was done. That's why the psukim in Yeshua write constantly, but Nasan Moshe gave. You look at Yud Gimel. It constantly said, the pasuk actually says explicitly, you do not need Yeshua and Elazar and the Skanim for that. That Moshe did. Then pasuk Yud Dalet starts, but for the 9.5 Shvatim, here we needed Yeshua, the Zekanim, and Elazar. You look at the juxtaposition between the Perek Yud Gimel at the beginning of Perek Yud Dalet, it's clear as day. I pointed out that's why Rashi explicitly writes that the T'nai was with Yeshua. He doesn't mention Elazar and the Skanim. The pasuk actually starts with Elazar number 1, Yeshua number 2, and the Rosh Hashanah number 3. Why did Rashi choose Elazar or Yeshua? The Teretz is talking about the kiyum of the T'nai if they do cross. Well, in there, only Yeshua is the Baldin. He has to make sure that they will be allowed to take everything else. He will facilitate it. He probably has to tell them, go, whatever they have to do, And if not here, he's the one that has to be megarish them. That's the Venasatim. If they did not fulfill the T'nai, then you need all three, as we mentioned before. But if you did the T'nai, so that's nothing more than merely facilitating Lachim at that T'nai. Again, not to make the Chalois Chal, but once it's Chal, I'm not a politician, but I know the way it is. You have government decisions, but then you need the department heads of the ministries to facilitate it, to make sure it happens. There's a lot of achlatos in the Memshala until it comes down to the Sarim and the Knesset and the Pkidim Dorten. You won't see that won't happen yet. It's an Amir Tashem. So he's telling Yeshua, brother, dear, you're the head of politics. You got to make this happen. That's the Minnesota. Make sure it happens, okay? Don't kvetch. That's the idea behind this. This is what this really is. That's what we learned. That's the getter of the halacha. This is clearly doesn't fit too well with the Shvar of Taishas and Ksubasai and Dalit, as we mentioned. It doesn't fit at all. Okay, we also pointed out that they sefta. This is like a real unbelievable. They sefta writes explicitly. It's not enough that the person who makes the T'nai should be able to do the Maisa or the T'nai of the Maisa of the T'nai with his shliach, but it has to be able to be done with the other party, with his shliach. It has to be shluk gufa or shluk cha. That is Mefurish Tosefta, which obviously now where's he learned from? He also learned if they go to Bnei Reuben. There's no other marker. So let's understand. What did he do? He understood that just like the pasuk talks about Yeshua facilitating, that also that same logic is extrapolated to include also her shluchim. So once again, it can't be a svara that Tosfos writes because he's the Baal HaMaisa. What's got to do with her capability of accepting Kiddushin and Gerushin? God help me. That makes no sense. If there would be a pasuk for shlucha, I would say very nice. Not even make a machloikis of Bavli and a Tosefta. I don't know if it's possible. From the stomach of the Gemara and Mefurish and Mishnah Stanoim. It's a bit of a problem you have to understand, because the one who brings this language up is a guy called Bar Birav, some yeshiva thing. Okay, he's even Mr. Anonymous, some guy that walks in the base measure and throws this idea, and everyone accepts it. Now you know why the Rambam doesn't paskin it. Okay, Bar Birav is like Bar Birav, it's not Tosefta. It's really, it bothers you. It should bother you. Often I Shimon over Lazar, Ashayna Tana, there was a Barbara, Yankel Barrel X, some Schmendrick that learned in Panovich. I don't know. Why would they care? You know what I mean? What does Barbara mean? She Aleph kid. That's what I mean. Yeah, he showed up. He's like, Michael, go buy yourself a handkerchief. You know what I mean? But that's what this is. It's really interesting to know that. Why the Gemara doesn't bring that. They said, I don't go into it. I don't know. I don't want to answer. I guess not every Moira knew every Bryce. Okay, granted. But we don't. We know the Bryces. Now what are we going to do? Okay, so you know that the stomach of the Gemara or Mr. Barbarav didn't know the Bryce. Good, but says, what the Bryce? Now we have to pass him with that Bryce. There's no way you can take a walk away from the Bryce. There's no Babli, which is Soiser in. So you got to come to a conclusion that this is included in the same limud, etc., which really walks away from the Shita Sataisis and Ayin Dal. That was a very important thing. There's no other way he could get it.
It would be like a star in time.
What kind of svarus? Give me a favor.
What's he trying to
It's nothing more. You have to be a tnai, which is roy, to milui, which shlichus. Where would it come? That's all. There's not the fuck anything. He's explaining chlitza. What do you want? He's explaining chlitza. And he's talking about her. Did you see it inside? So you saw it, What exactly the connection of that deceptus to the piece before? That's a question which is open to a lot of Parshanut. Whether there is a connection with the double of finance, I see Lieberman, he talks about very intelligently. Okay, but going back as opposed to the other guys on the side. But this seems to be clear. So in light of this, we understood one thing, that the ikar din of this halacha is not like, it means to say that something which you have to fulfill the stipulation by something happening for the good side or for the bad side. The fulfillment of the stipulation is that this chalitza will, a chalitza, if she gives you 200 zuz. Well, sorry. We can't fulfill that in the tzur of a shaliach. I can't have a shaliach tell a shaliach, go give the chalitza if she gives you 200 zutz. Rashi uses that as an example. Rashi explicitly writes, that's why it's no good. Rashi doesn't say because you can't send the shaliach to chalitza. Rashi says you can't send the shaliach to chalitza and make a t'nai on it. Why did he add that? Because the idea of the Gemara is not that you can't make a t'nai because you can't make a shaliach on that. No, that's not the problem. The problem is not a fulfillment of the t'nai. Because that's why Rashi says you can't send a shaliach to say, go be chayletz, and with the stipulation she should give you, Mr. Shaliach, 200 zuz. That's what it says in Rashi. If all Rashi wanted to do is like Taishas, he wouldn't add that last piece. He would have said, you can't send a shaliach to do chalitza. He wouldn't add and stipulate the 200 zuz. That's not the issue on the table. The teretz is that is the issue on the table. The issue is not whether you can or cannot do a ma'aseh shlichus on the chalitza itself. The issue is that since you can't, there's no miliyat t'nai in a form of shlichus. So the ikar halach is halach in dinei t'nai, a tzura of how to do makayim kiyum t'nai. Since you can't do it in shlichus, there's no form of kiyum t'nai through shlichus. That's what Rashi writes explicit. You want to see the Rashi inside? You can look at it. Rashi writes exactly that. Okay, that you can't buy. You can look it up. It's in Ksubas Ayin Daled. You can look. Rashi writes it beforish. Look at it just to make sure we all know it. And this is what Rashi writes. Ayin Daled. Yes, Rashi writes shliach. The second half, he says, "Avol chalitza iefshar lekaimo ayidei shliach ein yachol lomar l'shlucho im titen lecha plains 200 zuz chalotzla." What did he say that for? He should have said, "Yefshar get a shliach chalotzla." What's he saying? In to tell you 200 zuz chalotzla. What the shayla you can't do shlichus on the chalitza, but mainly you can't make it tonight. Why do you have to tell me the story that no, you can't have a story that she would have make it tonight that she should pay the shaliach? It's clear as day that Rashi doesn't do like Taisus. Rashi understands it's a halacha in the milui atnai. Repeat again. It's not because since it's something which I can't send a shliach, I'm not a bailim on to modify. through T'nai? No. It's since I can't give the shlich, therefore there's no possibility of the fulfillment of the stipulation through shlichus. Because what's the fulfillment of the stipulation? Doing a chalitza plus the 200 zuz. That's the fulfillment of the whole story. So can you do it this way, or the option is doing the shlichus, doing the chalitza without the 200 zuz? Okay, those are the two studies. What's the positive way of fulfilling the T'nai? Making the chalitza with the 200 zuz. That's impossible. Because there's no such thing as making a chalitza with a shaliach. So the kuda is not that you can't make the T'nai. The kuda is you're lacking what is needed to be considered a fulfillment of the T'nai. And that's the lashon of the Gemara called T'nai she'enoi iyavshar deshliach enoi T'nai. That's what's written in Aramaic. The Ramban by us translates that into Hebrew. I think it's mefurish that Rashi agrees with Ramban and the Pshat of the Gemara and negates this idea of the Taisvus. And as pointed out in the Shita Mekubetzes over there in Daf Ayin Dalet and Ksubas, that Enochanami, he doesn't come from a svara. It comes from the pasuk. So, as a matter of fact, that God wrote the Torah and reveal this halacha of T'nai Kafel, specifically, not writing the T'nai Kafel with Moshe, writing the T'nai Kafel to the saying directly to the Bnei Gad Reuben, but rather in context that Yeshua facilitating the realization of that T'nai. That's where he wrote the din of T'nai Kafel, and that's where we learned the din of T'nai Kafel. Why did the Torah write it this way? To teach you, yes, that also, that is the surah of T'nai. The T'nai is dafka in a case where the facilitating of the realization of that T'nai can be done through a shlich. In Chiddush, not just making the chalois through a shlich, but even realizing the result of the chalois also has to be done through. It can be done through a shaliach. That's the story by Bnei Gad and Reuben. The chalais happened without Yeshua, as we pointed out. He didn't really do anything. He just made sure that things went well. Hachlata was hachlatat memshalah. Moshe. We see that in the Pesukim Yeshua. In everything is Moshe. So what does the Venasata mean? Read the Ramban in Lamed Beis Pasuk Chaf. That's where he explains. Yes, make sure things go smoothly. That's the Yisait. So the Yisait is you have in the middle of T'nai, even T'nai does not just mean fulfilling the condition which creates the halachic change, but even means realize that, implementing that, applying that in practicality is also something we can do through shliach. Here's a question on the table. Do we mean hilchas shlichus or shluchas shodom k'moisa? Or does it just mean my will be fulfilled through someone else? Here's an interesting question on the table, okay? Now, practically, because do we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was a man with the din shlich or shluch shodom k'moisa? Is that what it was? Do you know that for a fact? By Yitzhav, he commanded him that he should be there. Who says he was a man for a shlich? I really wonder. What's it got to do with it? The shlichus is not bottled? No. You're thinking of a get. Just to implement it and make sure it happens, what's the problem? But without that, I don't think it's any reason to think that it has a parsha shlichus. I'm talking to walk away from a certain Reb Chaim. It's not a word of hilchus shlichus. It's a word of, practically speaking, can this be implemented through people representing you? And that's the chayra, what it means. Practically speaking, to make chalitza, the only way we can to do get in kedushin, the only way it can be done is they represent you legally. But in the case of implementing to make sure that they will be facilitated, they'll be allowed to go to those lands, I don't think you need that. I'm just pointing that out. So I highly doubt that would be a raya that you need the classical parsha of shalichus. You just need a practical reality. Can this be fulfilled with someone representing my views? That's all. I say this because Reb Chaim makes the whole shtickle Torah. It depends what type of chisoron, it's a chisoron and exoron. And why, if you see the Brisker Rav and Nazir, that shtickle Torah I think is wrong because he's taking for granted the din of shluchus on kamoishin, learning from the pasuk b'shilcha. I don't think it means that. And there's no reason to say it means that. I want this to be put on the table. Okay, now we can go further. So we saw that the Taisus, let me just get to where I want to start today, and then I'll take your question. The Taisus another asked the question once again, which what Ramban brings. So how can you make it T'nai by Naziris if at the end of the day you can't be Mekayim the Naziris b'shlichus? So that's the language of the Taisus another. What does it mean to be Mekayim Naziris? he's definitely not talking about making making the netter of Nazirus. That's not the Lashon Nekayim Nazirus. That's Lashon If Shal Linzoyer. That would be the verb. Or If Shal Lidoyer Ben Nazir. That'd be another word. Lekayim Esa Nazirus implies fulfilling the Nazirus. So clearly, once again, he's not even talking. He's not even asking at the level that, hey, I can't do the netter of Nazirus with a shaliach. He's not saying that. Okay, he's not saying that at all. Okay, what's he saying? He said you can't fulfill the Nazirus. What does it mean to fulfill the Nazirus? Let's be honest. What does it mean to fulfill the Nazirus? Well, it means to say you don't drink wine, you don't go to funerals, and ultimately one day you're going to have to bring korbanos. Okay, so he seems to be saying that the reality is that you can't exactly refrain from going to funerals through a shaliach. You can't exactly refrain from drinking wine through a shaliach. You're doing it yourself. Okay, this is what he takes. That seems to be the question of lekayim es nazirus. And what does he answer? No, there is a possibility. And what is it? Yes, you may not be able to refrain from going to funerals through a shaliach. You may be able not to refrain from drinking wine through a shaliach, but you can actually bring the korbanos vis-a-vis a shaliach. Once that's very good. Other people can do that for you. Actually, yeah, that's legitimate. Someone can do the avor for you. Good, very nice. Why is that enough? And then we saw in the Shita Kubetzes because there's 3 more words added in the name of the Shita. There's a Shita. The Shita there. You look at the Agdam of Shita and Kubetzes on Nazir. When it says Shita Stam, those are Talmidei Rami Metz. Okay, Rami Metz is the Uraim, okay, one of the Baalei HaTaisvus, which the Rush brings quite often. Okay, Talmidei Rami Metz, put them in the category of Bnei Doira Shel Rush or something like that. So we take these people seriously. I just want to put this on the table. So it says Shita. You look at the Agdam of the Shita, but it's another. It describes who the people are. What are the students? Just like the Meiri gives you nicknames, so also who are the nicknames in the Shita and Kubetzes. You really have to know who they are. So that's Shita there. You can look it up. So we're talking about Baalei HaTaisvus, Tachlis. That's what I want us to understand. We're talking about Baalei HaTaisvus, Korbanos Heim Iker HaNazirus. No, I didn't explain yesterday, but this means I'll explain it today. There are 2 views in Rishonim of what the purpose of those Korbanos are. The Ramban says that the Korbanos of Nazir is once you attain such a high status, you're willing to go back from the mountaintop to the valley. That's ugly. How can you possibly, once you tasted the paradise lost, how can you go back to the stupid world? I mean, it's almost saying once you sat in that yourself for 2 years, how could you want to go back to Tina? Okay, so he says you have to bring a korban for that. Interesting, that's his approach. That's obviously not the taisvus, because then the korbanos are not the ikar, the nazirs at the most. The opposite. Once you're a failure or you're walking away, at least do a little kapara. Okay, that's definitely not the Baalei HaTaisvus, right? So Baalei HaTaisvus have another approach. What's the Baalei HaTaisvus approach? Obviously, the approach is that of Rabbeinu B'chai. Rabbeinu B'chai gives another approach there, Al Pi Kabbalah. If you want to hear it, he has different pshat and usually different ways of explaining. Then he writes Al Pi. It's a small piece. It's interesting. Okay, where he writes that once again, if you read a lot, you have where to refer from. What would you do when you see a text like this? You say, you look up a stipler, it's not there. There's no Sukkos David. There's no Nachlas Moshe. What do you do next? I don't know. And you go further, right? That's what normal people do. That's idiotic. Okay? You go to the primary source, look at possibilities. Don't make them up because it's stupid to make them up here at this level and try to understand what it is. So here you have it. Rabbeinu B'chai says, Adrabah, it's an unbelievable reality. But the Korbanos are, in the Al Pi, if you know how to read that, but it's there. That what you're doing is the goal is not to be on the mountaintop. That's not the goal. The rising to the peak in the zero is to afterwards be able to translate that, implement that into the valley. It's das Ramban Achros Hayamim is to take Olam on the Neshamis and translate all that afterwards in the Neshamis with the Gufim. As opposed to Rambam believes that the end of reality is Neshamas without Gufim, Ramban believes, as Al Pi Kabbalah is that way, the end of reality is Dafka Neshamas b'teich Gufim. To b'teich a guf, to experience whatever is up there without a guf, experience it here. In other words, to bring that into that. And that's what those korbanos are supposed to facilitate. Those karbanos are supposed to move it to the next stage of translating the mountaintop into the valley. So that I can understand is Ikar and Nazirus. This already begins. At least that is something like that. I don't know if the Taish is exactly that lashon. That is the idea. In other words, it's not on the way down. It's the peak of the Nazirus to make that korban. How is it a peak? So we have an example of Rabbeinu B'chai. I can't say that A is B. I can say that way of thinking is represented here. Okay, so now I have something. So I understand that that's the Agdara. Well, if that's the peak, I can understand that the realization, if that's the Iker, is enough to have that to a Shliach. I don't have to have every aspect of implementation of the Shliachus. It's enough to have the Iker HaNazirus, which is Karbanis, to Shliachus. That is for the Baalei HaTaisus. The obvious question, so that's a very simple answer. Why? What about the other question? What about the fact that there is no Shliachus in making the Chalosh itself? Or the Maisa itself. Why isn't anybody bothered by that? Why is it worse than Chalitza? In Chalitza, it's interesting. The Gemara spoke about a parallel the story of Yeshua to Chalitza. In Chalitza, there is no facilitating. There is not even a Chalitza that you make. Chalitza, we know that Chalitza is God made. The only thing you do is stick your feet out there and you're mechaven with your das that what she's doing is a Maisa Chalitza. It's interesting. We shouldn't call that a Maisa. I'm not going there at the moment. Somehow they see a connection in her acting and me giving a foot and my dash make it into a mutual Maisa. Constantly, the Lashon of Rambam and Perik Dalit Chalitza is Chalitza Sok Psula, Chalitza Sok Sheira, her Chalitza, because we're talking about she's doing the action. Yet he's making it tnai. More to Kula Alma, if you're just a passive boy, no, then he has to have kavanah. And if he doesn't have kavanah with chalitza, it doesn't work. It's chalitza, it's no good. But Rabbanan would say she has to have kavanah and he has to have kavanah. That's Rabbi Yochanan. That if it isn't kavanah, both him and her, it's a chalitza psula. You can look at that Gemara in Ayin Dal, you'll see it's over there, Mefurish. Okay, so we know, but that's somehow called a Maisa. We see them as a joint reality, very similar to the Isra Arayis. The Ikar Isra Arayis is she's also killed, although she doesn't do the Maisa. That's part of the Sachakol Maisa, okay, without going into the particulars, okay? It's Lav Dafka because she moves in any fashion, form, or size. Also, she's Nera. Okay, so going back to here, so l'chayra, what do we see there? We see there is no chalais you're making. Only thing you're doing is a ma'isa. Whatever you're giving your foot is called a ma'isa. And we say, well, if you can't do that ma'isa with a shaliach, it doesn't work. So when it came to chalukas, so you're saying not just the ma'isa of the chalukah, but even the facilitating the teitzah of the chalais. But it's the Gemara understood it's with 10 kal v'chayimers if you need that. So obviously the kiyum of the t'nai is making the chalitza with a t'nai. So making the chalitza is also a milui at night. There's no chalosh there that you're making, but you're doing a ma'isa. So the t'nai is in the ma'isa. Okay, what are you saying? You're making a t'nai in the ma'isa. Isn't it right? So what do we have to say? We have to say, if that's the case, why is Tyson happy with the fact that you can facilitate it, the karbanis? What about the fact that you can't do the gufa ma'isa with a shaliach? Tyson is not bothered by that. Taisus is not bothered by that at all, and the question is why. Okay, Rabbi Kiva there asks another question. Rabbi Kiva there asks in the Girin Shas, he says it's very nice what you answered by Nazir, and you said Nazir because you can fulfill with the karbanis. Rabbi Kiva in Girin Shas. Adayin echi tarz hahidin adorim reish peg ve'elin adorim koinim rechitzis oilam im erchatz. If I take a bath on Sunday, I will never do a bath. No. V'hon adorim ef shelekayim adei shaliach. You can't say, let someone else take the bath. What's the difference? So, man, what are you going to do there? Maybe if you think this is a teretz, it's a teretz for Nazir. No, it's a teretz for Nazir. It's for Nazir. There's kabbanis. What are you going to say about making a neder about a bath? If I take a bath on Sunday, I will never take a bath again. I never take a shower. What's the problem? But but that's what it says over there. Ich verstehe nicht. It's a great question. Now he doesn't ask. Interesting about the fact that you can't make the neder with the shliach. Do you notice? He's talking about the fact that you can't fulfill the neder's chal. You can't fulfill the neder with a shaliach. You can't have a shaliach not bathing, and you can't have a shaliach bathing, okay? Both things. You can't do any of that with the shaliach. We're not talking about the chalosh of the issue. We're talking about the implementation of it, okay? Tachlis, now that this issue is chal, can I fulfill that with a shliach? And he says, well, what are you going to do there? That's a question of we have to answer that. Okay, so obviously there's a difference in the Tnai of Naziris and the Tnai of Nadorim. And this is going to be seen in the Ramban himself, 2 minutes, just setting this up. So that's another question which has to be asked. To cap this up, we had the Rabbeinu Azriel ben Yechiel, I pointed out yesterday. It's a Talmud of Maram Rutenberg and Rabbeinu Peretz, okay, a counterpart to the Rush. Once again, we're talking about a heavy Rishon. You get used to it. You have to know this, okay? There's not some kind of, I don't know what guy. Azriel, who knows? He's a rabbi, but forgotten. I don't know, who is it? So they're not mentioning Rabbi Rishon. Okay, and the answer is, what does he say? He says an interesting lashon. He says, by getting kedusha and chalitza, if you look at your phones, you'll see it. By getting kedusha and chalitza, there's a ma'isa. Which ma'isa is he talking about there? It's not a ma'isa of facilitating the chalois. The ma'isa of creating the gittin is a ma'isa, kedusha is a ma'isa, and the chalitza is a ma'isa. There's definitely no chalois that you're making by chalitza. We discussed. There, whenever you need a ma'isa, then you have to have Yachal Lasses Aydei Shliach. So he's already pointing out that we're talking both about the mice of creation, even the facilitating as we learned from the pasuk over there. But he says, but by Nazir, interesting, it's by Nazir, he says, to realize the kiyum, what are you supposed to? Are you supposed to do something, or supposed to refrain from doing things? Is there such thing as actively not drinking wine, or does it mean say refrain? There's no mice, it's a sheval ta'aseh. Actively not going to a funeral? No, it is passivity. Make sure you don't go. It's sheval ta'aseh. So there really is no ma'isa at all in the kiyum of the chalais. And since there's no ma'isa, there's no din of yachal lasos aydei shaliach. He said that is only a rule where you need a ma'isa. Now this comes very interesting. In other words, by nazir and neder, he's only talking about the Teitzah. Now, to live after the chalais is out, to live that chalais. He says, well, if there's no ma'isa in living that chalais, it's refraining. There's no din of lachos shliach. We only learn where there is a ma'isa, like when a sata ma'isa. Look, if Yeshua wouldn't have done it, Moshe, if he'd be alive, would have to facilitate this, right? He'd have to make sure this happens. Okay, I'm not here. You have to do it. There's a kumva say. Whenever there's an action as part of the T'nai, that action has to be something which is nitin lasadei shaliach, equals an action which you can finagle with, you can modify, you can say, I won't do it, I'll say someone else to do it. Just like you can make an action that you can change it, that is not a solid action, it's action which you can work with. So if that's the case, it's also an action which is modifiable. But an action which is, you can't change it. It's, you have to do it. You can't delegate. That's an action which is rock solid. It's not modifiable, and therefore you can't even change it or modify it through a t'nai. That's his idea. That's the svara also found in the Meiri and Ksubis Ayin Dalet, pointing out the svara is not like Taishas, biyadai, etc., but it's a ma'isa cholosh and a ma'isa chazak. You can see that in the Meiri and Ksubis Ayin Dalet. It's basically written with first and shittin, but actually you can see the book Pirusha v'Nimuke Rabbeinu Azriel. It's on Nazir. But if you don't own the book, you probably got a sheet of basis for your bar mitzvah. So you can look up in Nazir Yud Aleph spot there too. Okay, there you have it. Now here the question is on the table. Very nice. So when he's talking about Gittin and Kedushin, he's talking about Ma'asid. Now that's not about the fulfilling the T'nai. It's about making the din Chalitza. So why is it when it comes to saying the neder of Nazir, he doesn't care? There is a ma'isa, there's a dibur. The answer is he must come to the conclusion that dibur is also not a ma'isa. It's if it would be just dibur, that I don't need dibur yachal satei shliach. Why? It's a svara pshuta. Normally a dibur is not misalik a ma'isa. Loy also dibur umavatul ma'isa. Gemara 3rd parak of kedushin. Okay, but also dibur umavatul dibur. A neder is a dibur, a nazir is a dibur. He's got no problems there. I definitely don't need yachal lasses aydei shaliach. It's only when you want a dibur to change a maisa or mavatal a maisa, you need a din of tonight they go to Bnei Reuben. But in a case where it's a dibur connected a dibur, no, that we don't need this big thing of Yochel Asa de Shaliach. Therefore, he never asked by neder or by nazar on the maisa itself. How can you do the maisa? You don't know shliach. He's only asking on the venasata, on the implementation of the chalais, as we saw by Yeshua. That is a maisa. So he answers, you're right. By Yeshua there was a maisa, but by nazar, practically there is no maisa. It's only sheva al taseh. If there's no maisa of kiyum, it's only a sheva al taseh kiyum, and there's only dibur in creation of chalais. The whole klal doesn't apply. This is Das Rabbeinu Azriel. It's a svara pshuta. We come to a conclusion, but obviously our Ramban doesn't learn that way. Our Ramban asked the question. Now here it goes interesting. Our Ramban asked the question. The question was, Kol tnai she'ir shal sot shliach lav tnayu. He's talking about the tnai. Is he talking about the miluya tnai of afterwards, or is he talking about making the making the chalais itself equals the lashon neder? You made a neder with a tnai. You think you can't make the neder through a shliach? That miluya tnai of making the neder with a tnai doesn't work. Obviously, that was his question, not like the question of Taisvus. How do we know that? From the answer. So he Mefurish is asking the question not on the how to fulfill the after effects of the chalais, rather how to make that neder, and therefore there'll be a milui tonight. Yes, there is a neder being made with it tonight. That's the milui, that's fulfilling one side of the tonight. I want to make a neder with the tonight. Well, you can't do that with a shaliach. And the answer is it's possible. Whatever, I'm not going into the pratim, whatever his tzir is. That's a lot to talk about, but not here. But at the end of the day, that's what he says. So what's happening here? He obviously understands that that definitely by nazir, there is you need this halacha. And the question is, what about by neder? Because then we have a big problem. Because if this is the case, why doesn't he ask this question by every neder in the book? This is a different question. Reb Kiva Eiger acceded to the Taisvus and said we're talking about fulfilling the chalais. He says, well, you have the same problem by a neder of sleeping and not sleeping, bathing and not bathing. Okay? Reb Kiva didn't deal with the fact, well, you can't make a neder with a shaliach, so how can you possibly make a t'nai on a neder? That he didn't ask. He asked, if the neder is, I won't bathe or I will bathe, well, you can't fulfill that not bathing with the shaliach. Reb Kiva deals with neder just like the Taisa deals with nazir. He doesn't deal with that kind of question that the Ramban asks, and the Ramban offers an answer dealing with how do you originally make the neder? That's not his problem. So we explained in the Baliyah Taisa, it's very interesting. The Taisa obviously held that in Dibur there's no such halacha. What is the machlekes of the Baliyah Taisa versus Rabbeinu Azriel? It's very simple. Well, I don't even know if he argues. It's enough for him to say the machlekes is whether karbanis is part of that kiyum or not part of the kiyum. If the ikar neder is the karbanis, so there's a kiyum with ma'isa. If the ikar neder is just refraining, so then we have the svar Rabbeinu Azriel. The machlekes is the kabbanis like the Ramban or the kabbanis like Rabbeinu B'chaya? That's a possibility, not muchad. That'd be good for a bar mitzvah Torah. The machlekes is whether ikar neder is kabbanis or not. That's all I need. Okay, that's a very simple machlekes. But everybody agrees we're not talking about the making of the neder or the nazir. And the question is why not? And the Ramban obviously says it is. What that's a question on the table. Why is this different than chalitza? Chalitza, you don't have a chalai, so you have to do with obviously this is a maisa and this is not a maisa. That's a good svara, but according to the Ramban, that's not the teretz. He gives another teretz. He doesn't say because it's just a dibur and not a maisa. Okay, so what's the svara there? That's what we have to understand. What's happening here? So the maisa. Let's first look at other aspects here. And on that, we'll really have a question because the question is going to be this Takanawe question, both on Nedarim and on everything. Hello, why are you only asking about this? Ask about every neder in town. That there's a whole second parak full of neder with Noim. If you look up the second parak in Nedarim, It's all of Mishnais Kiseder about Nedoim with Noim. That's what they are. All these different things are all all Tnoim in the Dorm. And don't have the Ramban asking that question. He seems to be asking specifically by Nazir and not by Nedorim. The question is why. I'm trying to follow the thinking of Reb Kiva Eger and throw the question in a broader sense. But let's look at a few other things first. So the Ramban answered himself. If you look at the Ramban Steritz in the paragraph B'ikal Ameidak, when the question is really asked, V'yesh Aimim, Ki Gamrinon Mitnai Bnei Gad Bnei Reuven Hanem Milik Ki Yotze Bay Shutnai Bein Adam Lechaberoi. Avotnai Beino Leben Atzmo B'chol Iyan Hevetnai. And he gives a logic behind it, and that's the logic we have to, what does the man mean? And he says, V'atam notain, this seems to be something which is reasonable. What is it? Sharei midato itna. Well, he did it of his own volition. No one forced him to do this, which is true by every tnai, right? V'rotzeu lekiem, no, why would he do it if he doesn't want to fulfill it? And therefore, Hilkach afnai kafur lo ba'ina. Now help me. I don't understand. And when I do it with you, someone forced me to do it. I say, I do this, but I need you to give me $1 million. Someone forced me to do this. So that's not there. It means I really want to fulfill the t'nai. Equals, what does that mean? When you say, we take for granted you want this to happen. When I do it with somebody else, we're not sure whether you want it to happen. That's what, the idea of bidato yisna is found by both. So what could possibly be the difference between Beinola ben Atzmo, Beinola ben Chaviro? The last part of the sentence where he says, V'rotzehu lekayem t'na'o. Now, take that sentence and make sense of it. What is the difference? What does the Ramban mean? Ramban, we both agree that every t'nai is midato hisna. No one curses. I don't think that normal t'nai there's no curse. So the only difference can be are those three words. Rotzehu b'kiyumo, as opposed to a t'nai with somebody else, is lav davka rotzehu b'kiyumo. What does it mean? I'm sure no one bothered to read this. We shouldn't matter. Utah. It's not yeshivish. It is. We have to know something. So what can this mean? Well, first and foremost, I have to read a Ravid to you. I think the Ravid is very, because we have a halacha like this mefurish also in Shulchan Aruch. Where is it in Shulchan Aruch? In Shulchan Aruch, in your day in Hilchos Nedarim. Says the same thing. The end of Hilchos is Siman Reish Lamed Beis. Hilchos Nedarim. So the Shulchan Aruch writes like this. Here it is. No, it's not this one. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Yeah, watch this carefully. I'll start with something else first. I'll start with a very important Ravid. Very important Ravid. It's a Ravid in Beitza. Ravid on the Rif in Beitza. It's in the Daf Yud in Dapei Rif Tfus Vilna. I think it's page Chav Zayin or something like that in the Rif in Oz V'Hadar. It's just a beautiful Ravid, so it's very dramatic. He writes in a very dramatic way. So I'm going to read this. Yeah. Page Chav Ches in Oz V'Hadar, Hasagas Ravid, Aleph. Here, listen to a language. Atoa galet asoda ne'elam mibnei adam. It's very, very dramatic. Okay, I'm about to reveal, like, wow, Atoa galet asoda ne'elam mibnei adam. Sharishonim lo pirshua. Those who preceded me never told this openly. I'm going to reveal that this is the secret of the sugya. You laugh. It's not a very important right. he says it's also found in his Asagis and Schia Matana. It's also found in his Shuvas and Tmim Deim. This is like, he obviously says this all over the place. So to derive it, he called Masha Amru Chachamim Bitnai Kafo, Bitnai Kaidin Lamaisa, Behain Kaidin Lalav, Bitnai Maisa Davar Echad, Kidi Isa Babisha Ochzer Kirkadaikas, in the Gemara Gittin, Umaisa She'ef Shalik Yuba de Shaliach, Kidi Isa in Ksubis, right? Being Chalitza Mutas, Kol Elo no Lamru, Elo Kishosa Maase, Miyad, Ke'en in the Tinat Get Bechalitzat Yivam, She'en atnai mevatel ha'mais l'mafreya, el im kein na'aseh tnai b'ra'ui u'b'chayzik. Ke'en tnai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain, she'u mevakshim Moshe alav shalom, she'iten lo nachatan miyad. Al kein utzrach Moshe lichvol et atnaim, she'im lo yikaimu otam atnaim, okay, yitlu otam ha'nachala miyadam. I'm going to do the total ma'aser, but you understand, this is not the chalois is not chalut. It's not finalized. Okay. V'chein dikdek b'tnai koydem l'maiser shu choyzek atnai. U'behen koydem l'lav hoyel b'hamaiser nase miyad im kadam alav ein boi koyach la'akor ha'maaser. V'chein b'tnai b'davar echad u'maiser davar acher kiven she'maaser nase miyad ein yech yatnei alav b'gufo la'atiro l'sotro. Kigoin almanas shetachzilias aniyar. Va'af agav masikna da'i mitay ma'achrina sikna mikomokon yalfina minei lemila achrina. Hech deleke almanas ela be'im doya, etc., etc., etc. So what do we see here? He says the first. I'm just going to go further. So there's one thing which is the Ein Sofer Davar. Yeah, here it is. So klal number one. All the dinim of Tnai Bnei Gad Bnei Ruvain are there in order. Once you have a dibur which is doing something and you want to break it, you have to be able to write a strong language. Now, what does it mean, strong language? Now, this is elucidated in his Asagis and Schia Matana. In Schia Matana, he adds another point. And where is it? A minute. Where are you? Yeah, there you are. I hope I wrote it here. That's right. In Schia Matan in Halacha Peri Gimel Halacha Ches, the Rambam Paskins they did. Kazu haru mitzat gonim, v'ravotai haru she'ein tzarich likfol es atnai ulhagdin lav ela b'kedushin v'gitin bilvad. Ve'en the davar zeh raya. The Arishonim, Rabbi Yosef Shara, the Rambam. That when do we need dini bnei Gad bnei Ruvain? All these things only by getting kedushin by Yisurim, and we don't need it by Mamai. Allah Taisus already bring this day. Okay, by Mam. Bnei Gad bnei Ruvain. That's more than just money, man. Chelik b'Eretz Yisrael is something which is totally different. It's not just real estate. That's your Shem Nachla, whatever it means. I'm not into the metaphysics at the moment. That's more than just having real estate. The raya is that until Chalukas Eretz Yisrael, the girls were not allowed to marry outside of the Shvatim to keep the Nachla intact. Once the Nachla was made already, then we couldn't care less if the real estate goes to somebody else or Yerusha. So we're talking about making the boundaries of the Shvatim is more than just owning real estate. You want to make sure that it didn't go outside the Shevet. Only once the demarcation lines were made and the chiluk was made, then we don't care if because of Yerusha, this half of Shevet Reuven is going to belong to Shimon. That we don't mind anymore. I want to put this on the table. It won't go back in Yovel because it's going to be Yerusha. That's okay, because whatever will belong to Shimon, it'll be Nachlas Reuven, which belongs to a Shimonite. That's what it'll be. It will be called Nachlas Reuven. So this is the idea. So obviously the concept of Nachlas Reuven, Nachlas Shimon are concepts more than just Dinei Mominus. That's obvious. That's some of the svara behind that. So the Ravid writes as follows. So to Ravid, Alpha Peshen Raya Ladavar, there's no riot. He doesn't think there's a riot to this differentiation between Yisurim and Mominus, but Zeich Ladavar, Tam Gadol Ladavar. Zeich Ladavar, V'Tam Gadol Ladavar. There's a big svara in this. What is it? זה מוכר קרקע או נושנו, ואומר איני מוכרו אלא אם כן יעשה לי כך וכך. ונוציא אותו מידו ולא עשה מה שנשנא עליו. אבל בגיטין וקידושין עומדן דייתא הוא, מכיוון שנשאן דייתא לגורש או לקדש אין תתנועים אלא כמפליג בדבורים. בקירוב הדס או ריחוק הדס אין תנאי מועיל בו לרחיק ולקרב, אלא אם כן חוזקוי בכפלי. ובכל העניונים שנספרש בה, כי כולם all the דיני תנאי הם עניין חיזוק התנאי הם בין תווים. Understand, all these things are solidifying, making sure this is real, this was meant, giving it a chizuk. And this is only found dafke that when we talk about gittin and kedushin, where you have something happen here. It's not a das meshuya. You want the kedushin, you want to break the kedushin, you have to have mishpatei atnoim. But for example, when it comes to dinei mamas, what do you want? I didn't want this. I only want to sell it if you give me the money. He says there's a dinner svara here. That's what he writes. Now, repeat, but what comes out of here, it's clearly all the dinim of Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuben are not just some arbitrary, it's a din of chizuk hadibur to really verify the guy, this is what he really means. This is what he wants. So that's clear. What I need from here is the understanding of the Ramban. In other words, all dinei tnoim are not just tam zer sakasuv. They're there to make a gemiras das muchlak in what you're saying. There shouldn't be a problem of dvarim shebelev, etc., which is seiser. That all fits in a dialogue between people. The dialogue, do you really mean what you're saying, or didn't you really mean what you're saying? And we can, well, I didn't really mean it, okay? Because I'm dealing with you, I didn't really mean it. But when you make a neder for yourself, you mean what you say, and you say what you mean. It's not an issue of dvarim shebelev. The din is you have to elucidate your neder, granted. But what is the intent of your neder? That we're willing to accept, we can understand what you mean, we can take it for granted. The Shulchan Aruch passed this halacha that by every neder, we go according to the kavanah, even if we didn't say it explicitly. For example, in Reish Yud Ches, Sif Aleph, it says, Kol ha-neder o nishba roim advorim shebiglolan nishba o neder v'loim dimehen le'ezen niskaven. We look at the context and we figure out what he meant. I didn't say it. Because we go basar, as long as you express the neder, what's the background of the neder, what did you really mean, how much, we figure out in context. Even the sentence sounds X, we understand the context, we play with the sentence to make it reflect what we really think is behind your head. Okay? Keser haya to'un maso shel tzemer upishtim. V'hizia v'haya reicho kashe. V'nishba u'nadar shelo yaleh alav tzemer upishtim la'ila. Harei ze muter lubish b'gdei tzemer upishtim v'liskasos. Einei oser elo la'avshil la'achayrav. You can't take a big bunch of it because in context it means I don't want tzemer upishtim, which is going to create this over perspiration, just to wear a wool shirt or a wool jacket. That wasn't part of it. We understand language is a function of culture and context. So we do that in the dorm too. Etc., etc., etc. This is the halacha. Avdem zok the Ramah. The kol ze davke benoider bein lebein atzmoi. Anoida lechaverai. Kol shaloshen anoida kaila holchem achav im loiba umdede de muchach. This is a revushin of Ramban. What do we have here? First, this is the same idea. When we deal with your words that deal with you for yourself, so you understand what you mean. And the neder is dealing with you and your private life, so we understand. We take for granted. People don't, in their mind, they're thinking in a certain context, and the context of they talk in a certain context. Most people aware of the context of what their words are. You find this multiple times in dialogue with people. If you don't have the context, you totally misconstrue what the man said. And some people have a different perspective of what's happening than others, so their contexts are different. This is a shorish gadol and chaser havana. I have it constantly when you talk and learning. When you talk with a person of, let's say, of Moshe Stam, you understand his context is broad, so you can talk to him. He chaps what you want. You chap what he wants, and it's good. But when you talk to whatever it be, one of these Lego little people, so he doesn't understand what I'm saying. It's you have to tell my context. It's going to take me an hour to explain. Goodbye. You know what I mean? So it's very pushing. It makes sense. You have to have the context. So when you're talking to somebody, how's he supposed to know your context? That's dvarim shebelev. So you have to say. Why do I explain like million hakdamas? To give you the context of what I'm saying. Otherwise, when I don't do it, you guys think, what did he do now? Where's this coming from? Is this a curveball or a fastball, right? Is he pulling the wool over our eyes? Is he loud out? What's he doing here, right? You don't know. So they have to sit there for 2 days and do comments on this, comments basis, but until you finally get after 2 days, this is the context. No, that's what I said. Oh, that's simple now, right? It happens. I've been teaching for 40 years. I've been doing this for 40 years, always making the mistake in the beginning by not explaining the context and then going back until we get the context. This is the way it works. So it says that if you're ben adam lechaverai, he doesn't know your context. He didn't creep into your head. He doesn't know your cultural baggage. He doesn't chap. You have to say exactly what you mean. A big insight in dialogue. If you don't understand that, there would not be misunderstandings. People take their context for granted and think that everybody else is a navi, and that's where it goes all wrong. Is the din is nishtazai. When it comes ben adam lechaverai, you have to spell out the context. Ben adam la'atzma, you don't have to spell out the context. You know what I want. It's Dr. Ramah, and that's the get of the Allah of Dibur by Neder. See, where's this coming? He quotes a Rivash and a Ramban. I don't know, I didn't see the Ramban in the dorm inside, but it's very clear this reflects the Ramban that I have in front of me here. The din of Tnai Kafel, once we understand the Tnai, is basically to give the total context, the Chizuk Dibur. What do I really mean? Okay, I really mean X. Yes, if no, no. All this I know. I'm talking to myself. Why would I have to have all these dinim to be mechazik es adibur? It is only when I'm in dialogue with somebody else, about somebody else, then obviously when it's a dialectic reality, then I have to come and I have to put out, say, what exactly am I saying? And if I didn't say it, I don't know it. So this Ramban is simply a simple Shulchan Aruch by Nedor. It's a very nice thing to see. Reish Yud Ches Aleph. And there's the Ramah, which mamish makes that difference. Okay, that's it, number Pasha. That's number one on the table. That's what the Ramban says. That's one halacha. So he says, according to that, it's very simple. There's no, all these halachas don't apply. That is true. But there's actually a bit more to this. What's a bit more? It's the first in the Ramah, as I point, this is Reish Yud Ches. And because of Reish Yud Ches, the Ramah writes in Reish Chav Sif Tes Vav, again, Zot Ramah, Misha Nadar, V'amar, Im Yichle Ploni HaCholeh, Et Aneh Kach V'Kach, O Eten Kach V'Kach Tzedakah. Happens. Im Met Oto Ploni, Patur Minidro, Shaharei, Hitna B'Ferush. He didn't say it's Tnai Kafel. He didn't say it's Tnai Kafel. So why would it be true? So he says, "Below bein it's Tnai Kafel b'nedorim." They're like Gora di Burai mikavonas ha'noide kedel ha'el simen reshut ches. Mamish tabis ha'Ramban. Because by a neder you don't need a Tnai Kafel because it's like Gora. Then you know your context. So here you have literally, who is this? This is Das Atzmai. This is ready. The Ramah talking on his own. Dal Ayin means Das Atzmai. Okay, he's extrapolating from that Ramban by the halacha of context. Explained that Otnai Kafel is also a question of context. He knows what he means. This is Mamish our Ramban. Okay, This is what's saying over here. He adds, "V'chein yidbe'er l'kaman saif sim reish lamed beis." What's in reish lamed beis? The end of reish lamed beis is two halachas here in Yutes and Chof. I think they are. It should be the last two halachas. Yes, great. So the Shulchan Aruch says, "Misha piresh b'shat nidro alman nadar, hareze ketolen nidro ba'oto davar." V'im lo nitkayem hadavar shenishba b'gdalo mutar kigon shama aini noseh ploinus. Why? She'avi ra. I will not marry Scheindl because her father Zalman he's a wicked man. Okay, so he says v'shamo shemet. Well, we found out that Zalman passed on to the other. We moved over. Osha asa tshuva. He actually repented and became a super beautiful person. Ein tzorech haTorah. You don't need a Torah Nedarim. Why? The have kilu piresh shenoder al ze atnai. The kimish is battle and is battle another. He didn't say it tonight. All he said because of X, it's as if he made a tnai and since it's nice that it's battle. Continue, says va'od yesh neder shein tzorech haTorah. I will not have a noise from anything of yours. If you don't take this present from me, I will not have any annoy for your nechasim. I'm dying to give you something, and you don't want to receive this matana. You don't receive this matana, forget it. I have no, I will never go close to your nechasim. And why did you do this? Because you wanted to be mechabed me. You wanted to give me something. You simply misread. Let's understand why, not what you said. This is really the context of the why you said. All this because you wanted to be to honor me. Well, do a little paradigm switch. You want to honor me? The honor is not to receive a matana. So he says, ואפילו אין המדר אומר בפירוש שככה יש הכוונתו, אלא מן הסתם, וכן אם אומר לך קודם שתעננו אם אין אתה נויסן לכך וכך, ויש לו היתר בלי שעשו, חכם שם הרי הוא כאילו קיבלתי. Another case. What happens, he says, you have to give me something. I can say, okay, it's as if you gave me. Now, what does that mean, as if you gave? Because once again, the idea was, it's a question of what the context, what did I really want here? Not what I said, what was represented in what I meant in the words. Interesting. So we're really taking the words, extending them so much further, which are normal halachas or tibur. That don't work. Yet by Nedarim, it works. The same idea behind this is we go after the Kavanas HaNeder. So we're talking about Kavanas HaNeder in different aspects, and all that is the reason why you don't have Dishpatei Atnoim by Nedarim. And now we understand this. This is exactly what the Ramban writes. So the Ramban writes over here in this svara. Again, tnai shebeinu lebein atzar b'chol iyan have a tnai. V'atam neshar midaito hisna. He's doing with his own das, and look, he knows that he wants to fulfill this. He knows the context, so you don't have to explain it. And if not, it won't happen. Okay. In other words, you don't have to elucidate this because he doesn't mean he doesn't mean. If I get infected, it's your fault. My wife will kill me. Anyway. Okay, is this working? Okay, it's working. Okay, so let's just continue this. So we have one more little aspect, which I have like 3 minutes, 4 minutes. We'll try to do it in 4 minutes. There's one more thing to this, which we haven't explained yet. If this is logical, both by neder and by nazar, as far as action, is that really true? So that's the question. Can we differentiate between neder and nazar as far as this is concerned? To answer Kiveya's question, because as I pointed out, the Ramban only discusses this by nazar, doesn't mention the issue by neder. That's the question on the table. There's a very interesting Gemara in Nedarim. Okay. Very interesting Lashon Gemara in Nedarim. It goes like this. First of all, before we go further, I don't know if you know this, all the shmooze in these Rishonim, like it's a push sugi in Yerushalmi that you need Tnai Kofel by neder. I have to say this probably, right? It's no naim, but it's like it's an offer in Yerushalmi. It's in bad news. I don't know. When you learn the dorm, it's lo naim, the pashut lo naim. You know what I mean? But it's like there in the beginning of Nazir, same sugya of the Mishnah of Yud Aleph. The Mishnah says, etc. The Mishnah says over here. Let me just find it for a moment. A minute. Beis Chanya. Where's that Mishnah? It's in the second parak, right? Which Mishnah is it? Here it is. Perek Beis Nazir Halacha Daled, the Mishnah of Daf Yud Aleph and Nazir. Now, I say this because sometimes I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do with this, but this is what's here. And how do you paskin halacha? Well, thank God I don't have to paskin, but this is a problem. The Mishnah says, "Already Nazir Nashi Yeshoyse Yayin B'Tam LaMeson Areza Nazir V'Aser." That's right. That's the Mishnah Daf Yud Aleph in what's his face in Nazir. The Mishnah doesn't mention Masa Mashkas B'Torah. Just says that's the way it is. The Gemara says Masa Mashkas B'Torah. So here we have a sugya in Yerushalmi. Masnitin to Reb Meir. The reason that the Tnai doesn't bother us because the Mishnah was like Reb Meir that you need a Tnai Kofel, and there was no Tnai Kofel here. Masnitin to Reb Meir. Reb Meir Amar Tzorach Lichbo. So the reason the Mishnah said that Al Menashe the Mason said is because you're missing a Tnai Kofel by Nazir. I don't know what to say. It's enough in the Gemara that according to Reb Meir you need Tnai Kofel by Naziris. What? Do you know that the Babli argues? Show me a Babli that argues. Show me a Babli that argues. Then there's another Bandama here. Another Bandama is Rebuta ben Taima says another reason. He says Rebuta said ben Taima said another reason. Because this is like the Rabbeinu Tam. Sharei ze gitach amna shelo tifrechi ba'avir shelo tavir seyam agad larei ze get amna shetifrechi ba'avir amna shetavir yam agad b'raglayim ena get. If you'd have been Tamaimer, get. Why? Because it's Amanasha Tala Rakia. What's he doing? He's saying another Amanas Shaniam Tamala Mason is the equivalent of Amanasha Rakia. This that the Rishonim finally kick in Rabbeinu Tam, this Ramban, which quotes Rabbeinu Tam, did the two Pirushim of Tanoim in Yerushalmi, in Nazir. Either you need Taket Tnai Kofel, which is Reb Meir, if therefore you're lacking a Tnai Kofel, Reb Yehuda say forget it, even if you don't need a Tnai Kofel. He's not mentioning the tzad that you don't need because it's Nazir in all these sворos of the Ramban. He said there's another reason, because every Masna Mashikosu B'Torah is the equivalent of a Nashatala Rakia. Who says this? That's the Rabbeinu Tam that the Ramban brings. So it's interesting when you see things. Obviously, Ramban is Elam Das of this Yerushalmi. There's no question about it, because then he would have bought this. But this is Dvorim for Russian. Now the question is: this is only by Nazir or also by Karban or by Nidorim? That's the question. Can we differentiate between Nazir and Neder? It seems to be that the Taisus think so. The Taisus only asked it only by Nazir, didn't say it by Neder. One has to see: is there such a possibility? Okay, please look this up. It's in this beautiful Heitzah, wow, which is a really, really nice Heitzah, whatever it is. It's page Zayin Amid Aleph in Yerushalmi Nazir. Perik Sheni Elachadal, which is the Mishnah Daf Yud Aleph and Nazir. First, you give more, okay? Then the Gemara says Tamon in Bavli. It says they had another take. The Gemara says Tamon Divrei HaKolhi. No, the Bavli thinks it goes according to everybody, both according to Reb Meir and according to Rabbanan. Why? Because Amanash Taler Rakia. It's a mufurish. This is saying what the Bavli thinks. Our Bavli, which calls Masna Mashikos B'Torah, so Yudah ben Tema explains what do they mean. They mean Amanash Taler Rakia. You can't have it more mufurish than that if you want it. Okay, and that the Yerushalmi says, but we think that forget that. It's a question. This may be according to Reb Meir, because according to Reb Meir you need a night couple. According to Rabbanan you don't need a night couple. The Yerushalmi takes for granted that is a truth. But that's not the pshat in the Mishnah in the Bavli. The Bavli says you need a night couple, but either it's going contra abundant that you don't need a night couple, or it is by a night couple. What do all the Rishonim normally say? 90% of the Rishonim say whenever it says Amanas, they all ask, well, why doesn't it say the night couple there? And they say that the more talking about Kitzer. So you don't know that the Bavli argues with this. And once you have a Mefurish Yerushalmi, you don't have a Mefurish Bavli Neketze. Any Dibur of the Rishonim, L'chaira, would have a hard time to bring it L'lacha L'maisa. Okay, so I'm pointing out, so it's very clear. The only way you can live here with the Sifra and Shulchan Aruch that I mentioned can only be if there's a difference between Neder and Nazir. Now, what is the difference? That's the question on the table. Okay, it's clear from the question of Reb Kiva Eiger in Nazir Yud Aleph that there has to be a difference. Okay, as we started this year, it's very clear from what's coming out now in this thing over here that at least there must be a difference between Nazir and between Neder. Okay, I mean, unless we're going to say that everything's wrong, the Ramah is wrong, everything's wrong. Don't know. I'm afraid to do these things, but whatever it is, this is really this Yerushalmi. And if I would have said this in the beginning of this whole thing, we said, don't waste my time with the Ramban. We know the truth and goodbye, Charlie. But then you wouldn't have learned how to read a Ramban. So first, now that we taught you to read Ramban, now I'm telling you, what can you do? It's all the Yerushalmi. That's enough for today. Bye. That was nice. Don't tell me it wasn't. Bye, guys. Take care. See, have a great day. Bye, guys. Okay. This is actually a very nice screen. I must say the honest truth. Who's this? This is yours? It's a nice screen. It's a bigger screen than mine. End meeting.